Ishwaram, as resplendent sun. It's the start of a bright new day. Time to rise, time to shine, Lord divine. Time to lead us along life's way. Awake, Lord of Buddha party. Awake, O Lord, over all mankind. Awake, O Lord of compassion, that the world good fortune may find.
It's very humbling to be up here to try to say a few words about Baba. It's a great privilege. Thank you so much for inviting me, for having the confidence in me. I can't do it without Baba. So please, dearest, sweet Baba, please speak through me and let your love come through me, because that's the way I experience Baba, through his love. I had a recent experience maybe a year and a half ago, which was rather humbling in India. It was one of our wonderful trips. We were having such a happy time, and when I get happy, I get very talkative and exuberant. And so I was feeling very happy and exuberant, and we were without our children. It's always fun to be alone. It's fun to be with the kids. There's 4 daughters, 5 of us in a room with Sam in 1 bathroom. It's great. It's like a big camping trip, sharing all the frustration and the fun of being with Baba, but it's fun to be alone. But this particular day, Sam, of course, becomes very silent and quiet and goes within and meditates and feels Baba within, but I go out. And this particular morning was a very fresh, cool, clear, beautiful morning. Is so magical. I think it's the best time. I love it the best in Prashanti, Nili, and those of you who've been there may feel the same way. It's so cool. It's been hot during the day, and then you start out fresh in the morning. And we were lining up, and I was speaking to a woman from New York, Renee, and we were chattering away. We're not supposed to chatter away. We're supposed to be silent and go within and feel God within. But I was feeling happy and talkative. And Renee was telling me that she was going to be leaving soon, and she was feeling very sad, because there's that moment when you know you're not going to see Baba for a while, and it grips your heart, and you feel very sad, that last darshan. And so we got our numbers, and good numbers. We were number 2, so we raced up. You know how you try to look like you're being very courteous and ladylike, but actually you're running like crazy to get a good front row or second row or whatever. So we got our places, and then, of course, the atmosphere is charged with expectancy. It's an exciting moment because everybody's waiting for Baba, and it's very cool, and the daylight is starting to break, and you see the sun. From the women's perspective, it's coming over the men's side, and the birds are crowing and making their noises, and it's just a very cool, calm, wonderful moment before Baba comes out. And all of a sudden, everyone stops and alert, and there he comes, and he's just so beautiful. And you feel the energy, and you feel all the prayers and all the love and all the entreaties. Baba, I love you. Look at me. I have problems. You know, you can feel all the energy focused on Baba, and he's so magnificent. And this particular morning, he came out, he floated out, he came by and materializing vibhuti, speaking to someone who had been waiting there for days with a little child, someone, in rags, waiting patiently with the child and blessing the child, and coming around, he went past me. So he didn't look at me. That's okay, you get used to that after a while. But then he came past to my friend Renee, and she jumped up because she was becoming desperate. She was leaving, and she said, Baba, I'm leaving, interview, please interview. And you go thinking, I'm detached. I don't need an interview. I can just look at Baba, just love him, just be in his presence. And then the days pass, and then you start getting desperate because you want to be with him. And so she jumped up and grabbed Baba, I'm leaving the interview. And he looked at her, he cocked his head playfully, and he said, "Oh, you're leaving? You want an interview?" And then he pointed over to me, he said, "She'll give." Well done. And that was my little encounter, and that was a very strong little correction from Baba. And this is the way Baba, sometimes he's very gentle and playful when he's teaching us. I'm sure he was telling me a lot about ego and about chattering and about so many things. And I think about that a lot. First I thought how cute. And then I've started thinking of all the moments when I'm talking to my children and they say, "What should I do?" And I start, do this, like a moms do. And I'm giving an interview and I have to watch, I have to wait. And when people are discussing their problems, and you have to be very watchful. And Baba was just giving me a word. So please, if my ego starts rearing its head, please stand up and wave to tell me. We have had a center in our home for 22 years, and we've been very blessed. Very, very blessed. For 22 years, it's unbelievable that our neighborhood has tolerated it. Cars coming and going and coming and going, 50, 60 people sometimes, singing, coming out of the window, and incense and drums and instruments, and everyone tolerates it. Can you believe that? It's just a miracle. And we try to be very nice to our neighbors. Very, very nice. And so far, they tolerate us. Recently, a neighbor, a neurologist who lives up the street, was speaking with me, and he said, now I never talk about it, but he brought the subject up, the cars, and the meetings. And he said, every time I go by your house, I say to myself, that woman knows how to keep a happy home. She just lets her husband be as nutty as he wants to be. And that's exactly how he saw it. And would he be shocked to see me up here? One of the biggest nuts of all. But it didn't come overnight. But I'm so grateful. Thank you, Baba, for the gift to finally receive your love, to feel your love, to know that you love me, because he does love all of us. He gives love so generously. He gives, period, all the time. Those of you who've been there have seen how he's always giving fruit to the children, saris to the workers, handing them out. Oh, you don't want the green one? You want the blue one? So individually, so beautifully, the way he gives. He's showing us. Sometimes he tosses things from the stadium stage for the birthday. Sometimes he'll toss the ladus, over his shoulder. He's playing with everybody. He's just so playful and joyful in the way he gives. And he's telling us that's who we are. That's our nature, to give, and so joyfully too. I remember reading once in Charles Penn's book, My Beloved. Charles was writing letters to Baba, and he was actually responding in letters. And Charles was developing a little group, Baba group, and Baba said, good deeds always yield good fruits. Prayers shall always be answered. That is the rule. And of course, good prayers, not selfish, I want a car, I want this, but the good prayers. So he's always listening to us. And even recently, I think at one of the birthdays, we heard him say, ask everything of God, ask nothing of any other man, but ask everything of God. It's his joy and his duty to give. So he's there for us, holding out his hand, waiting for us to take a hold. But some of us are a little hesitant because we're confused, we're not feeling his love intimately the way we'd like to. We have doubts. That was my experience. When Sam went off to India, I was stunned. What would happen to him when he came back? Would he just drop out and stop supporting me and the kids? And would he change? And would he become one of those holy, pious, spiritual people who go around in a daze looking so righteous? And I had a feeling about them. I didn't want him to become one of those people. So I was very nervous and worried about him. He came back and he was changed, dramatically changed, because he said, God is on earth. He said, no more meat. And he started chanting, but he became nicer. He didn't become weird. He actually became nicer and sweeter, and he was very smart. He took my hand and literally dragged me off to India. We had 4 kids under 5, 4 daughters, twins, and then another, and then the baby was just a year. He said, "You have got to see this." So off I went on this big adventure. And I will just share the first contact with Baba because it was so sweet. He had us in. We were very fortunate. We went with my sister and brother-in-law, Sam's brother. We're sisters married to brothers. And he held us in, and first someone said, "Baba, you're so far away. How can I feel you?" And he said, "Write me." And he waved his hand and materialized calling cards, and he handed them out, just the right number to everybody, a little calling card with his picture and his address. And this was back in the old days, 22 years ago, before, calling cards were so popular. But then he walked over to Sam's brother. And then he allowed us to ask questions, and I was able to ask my question because I was always worried about death. It bothered me so much, the thought that I would die. I was so attached to everybody, that my demise, those that I loved, I couldn't bear the thought to think that there was no meaning to life, that it was just going to end so abruptly. But I was never asking the question. Sam was always asking, what is the meaning of life? Is there a God? What is the meaning? All when we were dating, why, what, why, what? Okay, stop already. But he was asking the questions for both of us. I'm so glad that he was asking. I was afraid to ask because I was afraid that the answer would be that there's nothing, that it's random kind of a universe. But anyways, Baba allowed us to ask questions, and I was able to ask, what about death, Baba? And he gave his sweet answer, you're immortal. You live, you're infinite, you're spirit. You don't die, you just shed your body the way you shed an article of clothing. It's not to worry. And it was very sweet and very reassuring, even though I was not as familiar with the concept as I am now. But then he walked over to Sam's brother, Don, who was also a doctor, and he waved his hand, and out came this magnificent ring, beautiful big ring, and I burst into tears. I was overcome. Of course, everyone thought I was overcome with joy, but I wasn't. I was overcome with jealousy. I was so upset. I said, how could Baba do this? Sam is a devotee. Why was he materializing for Don when Sam is the one who loves him? And I was jealous. Why should Sam not get the ring and not Don? And I was in my mind. I was very deeply affected. And Baba walked over to me so sweetly, and he waved his hand because he knew what was in my mind and my heart. He waved his hand, and his hand literally filled up with a greasy, Indian candy, sugary candy. Afterwards, I had to think, well, where did that come from? If he had a greasy mound of candy, was it in his sleeve? Where? But he said, for the prasad for the children. So sweetly, sweets, and this is what he does. When we're really suffering and struggling, he gives us a little sweet. And I find that in my daily life, that's what he does. When it's really difficult, when the going is tough, he comes with some little gift, and it could be in the form of a phone call or a friend, or something happens in your life that makes you say, yes, he really is with me, he really loves me. At any rate, after that trip, there were other trips, and we started the center 22 years right after, and of course people started coming, and I had to start integrating who is Baba. I had experienced his love, but I have to tell you, I didn't feel the intimate, personal love. He loves me personally. Somehow I didn't feel it, but yet I did not want to let go of him. I held on for dear life because he gives us such a great gift, which is the message that he tells us. He tells us who we are. And this is so profound, it's so deep, it was so earth-shaking to me, and it was so full of hope, that you're not this body which I identify with. Oh, if I'm 10 pounds overweight, I feel fat, ugly. No, you're not that body. You're not this mind which is absolutely driving you batty. You're not the emotional self which is so hurt and explodes so quickly. And he tells us that we're God. We're divine embodiments of God. Prema Swarupa. And I remember one of the summer schools recently, 3 years ago, we were fortunate to attend. And on the stage, Baba had 2 lions, big, huge, bronze lions, one on either side. And this was at the very beginning of the first day. He said, you may think that these lions are merely for effect, for decoration. But no, this is to tell you, to remind you, this is who you are, to identify, to know that you are noble, you are courageous like the lion, you are strong, you are not sheep. And he was telling the students, this is who you are, you're divine, know who you are, be brave. He said the lion doesn't hunt unless he's hungry, he's noble, he's strong, be courageous. And he gave a great pep talk to the kids, and the lions were on the stage the whole time. And then he had, over those 2 weeks, he had the students coming up, giving speeches. He said, no notes. They would come up with empty hands, and they would speak flawlessly. And I'm sure they were shaking, but they were trying to be courageous. They were trying to show Baba, yes, we can do it, because they knew that he would give them the courage. Well, at any rate, this is why I held on to Baba, because I knew that he could give me the courage, and he was giving me the faith and the hope, and I didn't want to let go. But yet, I didn't have that deep feeling of his love. But the years passed, and we started raising our kids, and this was predating the Balvikas. And so we were a little isolated, and we were vegetarians. He was very sweet, and we were all in harmony about that within a very short time. But then we were different. The kids were different. They had to deal with that, looking at little different pictures on the wall. Oh, who's that? Your father? Someone would say, because it is rather unusual in Western culture to have these big pictures. Not even Christians have such big pictures of Jesus on the wall. And Sam likes them large. But we figured a way to just say he's a teacher and my parents love him. We figured out how they could feel comfortable. And they loved him instinctively, even though they hadn't been to see him. But they saw that there was a harmony between the two of us, that even though I was struggling, that there was a working together. I was really trying to understand and trying to be devoted, even though I didn't like to meditate, and I don't still meditate, but I was trying to be a good person. I was trying to live the way Baba said to live, and I was watching his example because he's such a beautiful role model. And I was saying, this is the way he is, kids. And he is a beautiful role model. I've seen him with the students. I've seen him with our family. How sweet. The kids will come worried. Is he going to love me? I'm not good enough. I don't go to bhajans. I don't read. I'm not, and he would reassure them very sweetly. Good father, good mother, nice children. Once with our one daughter, he said, bad thoughts, but good girl. And then she said, oh, please help me, Baba, my temper. He said, no, not temper, reaction. He said, I will help. Always so sweetly encouraging and saying, it's okay, it's human, just keep trying, be good, try. And always giving that encouragement and letting us know that he really does love us and know that we're trying. He knows our efforts, and he will give us the strength that we need. But at any rate, we took our daughters, when the twins were 13, we did take them to see Baba for one of the birthdays, I don't know which one. And it was a very exciting event for the girls. First of all, it's like a huge international family. Part of the fun is to just see these wonderful people like here. So many beautiful people, so much love permeates. You feel the energy, and it's wonderful to see this international group of people who are sharing your love for Baba. It goes beyond culture and color and religion, everything. And that was very exciting. And then they watched how the students were behaving. The college boys were serving us in our roundhouse, and we'd watch how they would so sweetly serve us patiently every meal, and then they would take all the dirty dishes and push them into a room, and pretty soon this room was this high with dirty dishes, and then between meals they would go and wash the dishes patiently, sweetly. Can you imagine the boys that many of you doing dishes like that so graciously, so sweetly? and they did it without any feeling that it was difficult for them, and this was not the feeling this is woman's work. Nothing like that. It was very inspiring, and they were so sweet and natural with us. And then we were very fortunate to be invited in to speak with Baba, and he was again so sweet. And during darshan, he had tossed a rock candy to one of the twins. They're identical twins. They look very much alike. If you were to see them, you have to study them. And then in the interview, he said, "I threw the candy to her, to you, didn't I?" And then he again gave the pep talk, good girls and good students. And then he said, "Soon marriage." Marriage? They were 13 at the time. Marriage, Baba? Their eyes open. And he said, no, after studies. So I have to tell you that they're 27 and they're still studying. And no marriage yet. He had to start early with them, preparing them very gently for marriage, because they haven't been too eager. But he gives so much energy to the marriage. We once were with him with another couple, and it turns out eventually afterwards the couple had a divorce. But they were sitting in the interview. Baba didn't talk to them about their marriage, but he was talking generally about marriage and ours, and how wonderful to have this relationship. He actually said, when a husband and wife love and respect one another, it's the closest thing to heaven on earth. Can you imagine that? And another time he said, marriage is like two hands making a sound. That is, it has to be equal. It can't be off. It has to be balanced. But he gives us this great relationship. You can fight it out. You can work it out with your diverse, interests, and then you can achieve this harmony, this unity and diversity, and that's what the family is too. He gives us this great chance to work things out in this family unit where we're rubbing against each other, all the problems and the struggles, and then when we finally come together, it's so much fun, it's so beautiful, it's so joyful, and our family has a lot of fun. Not that we haven't had struggles and arguments, disagreements, but when you come together, it's so wonderful, and this is a gift that he actually gives us. Of course, the girls aren't quite ready for that, although I must say the last time, now he's talked about marriage with us, with the girls. He says, marriage? He tells Sam, "Are you looking for husbands?" "Are you looking?" He said, "You're not looking." He said, "But I'm looking." He said, "Soon I'm going to send good husbands." And the girls are shuddering a little bit. They said, "What if we don't want to get married, Baba?" He said, "It's your duty. It's your duty." But he's had to prepare them gently. But the last time he said, "I think they're ready." They're ready. They're over there. The husbands are over there waiting. So they're kind of waiting to see what happens. 4 young women in their 20s, but we know he will take care of it. But it's not easy. You know how it's not easy to find good men or good women if you're a man. Well, there are a lot of great ones over here, but with character, with love. They don't have to love Baba, but they have to be open and have a loving character, be honest, be truthful, be sweet, and have a sense of humor. That's one of the prerequisites to a relationship, I think. And if Sam had lost his sense of humor, that would have been the end. But he was always able to laugh, and Baba is always very joyful and playful. Well, I would like to tell you about 2 trips. One was a turning point trip for me. This was about after 13 years of loving Baba, having taken a few trips, usually on the birthdays, and that's a very highly charged day for me because it's my birthday. And it's always was an ego struggle because it's my birthday, but it's Baba's birthday. And I love Baba, and I'm very grateful now, but in those days I was my ego was saying, what about me? And it was kind of swallowed up in celebration of Baba's birthday. But that was something I had to deal with among many things. But we took the kids for the 60th birthday. It was the 60th. And that was a marvelous event. Baba was a speck in the distance, so that was difficult. But it was so thrilling to see this marvelous family of people from all over the world, to feel the energy, to see the workers at the ashram, like people here. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for all of you for this this magnificent stage. It's so beautiful, breathtakingly beautiful. And all the service, everyone is so gracious. It's like being in Prajantinilium, and that's what it was like for the birthday. It was a huge birthday party, and imagine for thousands and thousands, and it went so smoothly, and so many people. You could barely walk in the ashram, and yet food was served for everybody. People had places to stay. If you think about it, it's difficult, and it was difficult, and I complained a lot because it was so hot, and Baba was so distant, but yet it was so wonderful. It was very thrilling, and our daughters thought it was great. It was just fun. We were all together, no water. It was like camping. They didn't have to wash because the water was shut off for hours at a time. And it was great. They loved it. I was a complainer. So after that trip, I said, I don't think I want to go. I'm going to love Baba in my heart. I don't think I need to go anymore for a long time. I'm sure some of you had that feeling. You've left the ashram. You're disappointed. And you say, well, okay, Baba, I love you, but I don't have to go there. But then Sam decided to go. Within about 4 months, I was on the plane with him. Just like that. I have to go. And this time I said, okay, I'm going to zipper up my mouth. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to really try, Baba. Try to be good and just enjoy you and love you. So off we went. It was a very hot time. It was the summertime. That's about 108, I think, in the sun. It was really hot. I don't know if we had a fan for our room yet. It was very uncomfortable, but I tried hard not to complain. And maybe the first day, he came by and he called me to go in, me, you love me, Baba? Because usually he was asking Sam, if one member of the family is invited up, then the whole family gets to go up. He called me up. I was so flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it. I was incredulous that he actually loved me and was inviting me up. So we went in, and it was so sweet. And I remember Sam had some material to show him and a list of things to talk over. And Baba was very sweet, and he just went to Sam's pocket. He said, "Oh, this for me?" He went through the list, and then Sam had some papers to discuss, and the papers started flying around the room, with the fan was whirring, and it was just to say, Baba sweetly watched while Sam was scrambling to pick up the papers. This is what it is. To him, our business is like paper in the wind, but to us, it's important business. But he was so sweet with us, and it was a wonderful interview, and I was happy. But then the days started passing, more days and more heat, and I really have trouble sitting because my hips don't sit comfortably. It's always been hard. Every time Baba comes out, I'm always in pain. I try to not think about it and to just immerse myself in him, but I'm always thinking of my body, that body consciousness. So I had the idea that I wanted to sit on a chair. Just once, to sit on a chair and be comfortable. Well, only the old and the infirm usually sat on the chairs in those days, and I was neither old nor infirm. So I was ruminating about this for 3 or 4 days, torturing Sam. Should I sit on the chairs? Do you think I can sit on the chairs? What do you think? And then I said, I don't care if Baba likes me or not. I am going to sit on the chairs. So I went over, I lined up with the sick and infirm lady and made myself very little. I kind of mumbled that, well, I have a hip problem. And then I sat in a chair. And then Baba came out. It was so magical. He was so beautiful, and I was so comfortable, completely comfortable, sitting there, and I fell in love with him. The sun was coming up from behind him. He was so radiant. Sometimes when you're there, you see him, and he's otherworldly. He's so beautiful, and this is the way my heart just fell out and went out to him. And I was so comfortable, and I could just watch him and not feel my pain, and he came, went past. And then for a few days, I continued to sit on the chairs. And then after a few days, wait, let me just see. I sat on the chairs, no. And then he called Sam up that time. He called us in, and he looked over at me and said, "How are you?" I'm so happy, Baba. I was so happy. My heart was flown out of my body. I was just light and happy. And then he waved his hand, and out came the Japmala. And he said, He was very sweet, and he talked about the Japmala. And he was so sweet that he did not tell me that I had to do the Japmala. You know, he didn't say, this is what you have to do every evening and every morning, because he knew that meditation was so difficult for me. And he knows that if he had given this to me as a gift, but then if I had to do it, it would have been a burden or whatever. So that's the sweetness of Baba. So then I fell in love with Baba, and I knew that he loved me. It took that particular experience for me to see his love. And after that, I sat in the chairs for a few days, day after, you know, and then a neighbor of ours came along with us, and she said, you know, Baba hasn't come to the chairs lately. I wonder if someone is sitting there who shouldn't be there. So I said, uh-oh, I wonder if that's me. I don't know if she knew, but maybe that's why she... Well, anyways, I went and I sat on the ground. And wouldn't you know, that darshan, he raced over to the chairs. And he spent 5 minutes at the chairs talking to the ladies and giving... But I knew that that was okay. That it was as if he was telling me that God loves us. It doesn't matter if we meditate 10 hours or 1 minute, or if we sit in the chairs, or, well... We have to know when we have to leave the chairs. We do have to know when we've reached our limit. But he loves us, and we don't have to be so rigid and so hard and feel that if we breathe the wrong way, that he's not going to approve of us. Our daughters have gone to India several times worried, maybe Baba doesn't love us because we're not, you know, he doesn't approve, we're not living up to his ideals. They look at the students are so wonderful. They're so balanced and very disciplined, and the girls, our daughters say, well, we're not like that. But he still loves us. He loves all of us because he knows we're trying. And that just pushed me over the fence. Time? Okay, I'd like to just end with a brief, do I have about 3 or 4 minutes? 1 minute. Okay. I wanted to tell you about the great interview we had, the last interview with Baba. Just to tell, I'll stay really fast, the last trip in January. It was very sweet, very precious. Again, he said, husbands, no husbands, I'm sending. The girls were able to ask him some questions. Baba, how can we feel closer to you? And he said, talk to me, like he does all the time. Talk to me. And then they said, Baba, will you always be with us? Always, always, always. And then, Baba, is there anything more we can do? And he said, love, love. And this is the message. I've asked him many times, Baba, is there more we can do? And he's told me different things. Yes, I'll give you good work. Good work. I've thought, good work, what does that mean? And then the last time I said, Baba, can we do more? And he said, home and the family, that's your work. That's what I'm always doing, Baba. He said, all work is good work when you dedicate it to God. And so that's what he's telling us, that all of our work is good work. I'd like just to end with one quote. It's so beautiful. He told it to us. We were in the mandir at an organizational meeting a few years ago. The foreigners were in the mandir. And he spoke to us and said, and we were all closed in quietly, and he was so sweet. He said, nations are many, but the earth is one. Stars are many, but the sky is one. Jewels are many, but gold is one. Beings are many, but breath is one. This is the truth of unity and diversity. I am here, you are there, but our breath is one and the same. The best way to love God is to love all and serve all. This is the first message, and this is also the last message. Healthy life, happy life, peaceful life, divine life. I will bless you. I love you. And that was how he ended.